State government.
You can learn a lot about government by hanging out in Washington, D.C. But did you know that most of the laws you live by come from your state government? Take a look.
America is comprised of 50 states united as one nation. You might think that the laws we live by come from the national government, but actually, most government comes from the states. The 10th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution declares that powers not given to the national government are reserved to the states respectively. So each state has the power to enact policies and laws not covered by the authority of the national government. One of these is the power to establish public schools. Each state determines how funds should be distributed to public schools, and the courses and classes that should be taught to meet state educational standards. Another power reserved to the states is determining license requirements for professionals. Such requirements make sure that you will get the best services possible from a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher.
Right as number 1, and then move down.
One of the most important powers is establishing and maintaining state government. Each state has a constitution that explains the way its government is organized and how power is distributed among its branches. Just like the national government, all states have 3 branches of government. The executive branch, which enforces the laws, is led by the governor. The legislative branch makes laws. And the judicial branch makes decisions about the laws. And just like the national government, each branch of state government has powers that can restrain the actions of the other 2. This is the system of checks and balances. Each state constitution also has a Declaration of Rights, similar to the Bill of Rights that protects individual liberties. State governments are very similar in structure to the national government, and state government has an enormous influence on our daily lives. States take an active role in promoting the health and welfare of their citizens. Most fund ambitious public health, safety, and welfare programs. These programs immunize children against diseases and provide funds to keep people healthy. The states distribute cash assistance, often called welfare, to those who need it. They regulate public safety by establishing and paying for police and correction systems. And they also maintain state highway systems. Today, we enjoy a society that is relatively peaceful and safe. We owe a large part of that to the hard work and foresight of our state governments.
Now it's your turn to answer a question. What is one responsibility of state government?
The Constitution establishes a federal form of government. Each of the 50 states has its own government. Powers not given to the national government by the Constitution are reserved for the states. The Constitution denies powers to both state and national government. Federalism has actually evolved. It has not always been the way it is now. There are 2 different types of federalism: dual federalism and cooperative federalism. We'll start with dual federalism. Dual federalism is from 1789 to 1932. Dual federalism basically states that state and national governments have very distinct and separate responsibilities and powers. Federal government only has the jurisdiction if it's clearly expressed in the Constitution. The states have a greater role and power in things like education and race relations. Cooperative federalism is from 1933 to the present. National government is clearly supreme over the states. It's a broad interpretation of the necessary and proper clause. The necessary and proper clause, remember, are all of those things that Congress needs to actually fulfill the things that are specifically stated in the Constitution. Federal government intervenes or assists in some areas traditionally left to the states. Examples of those would be education, healthcare, and civil rights. This began with the New Deal program. Would it be possible for the United States to return to a period of dual federalism again, where states would have more power and there would be less interference by the national government? Explain your answer. Distribution of powers between the national and state governments. The things in the middle, to enforce law, establish courts, borrow money, and collect taxes, are things that both the national government and the state government does. These are things that only state governments do: conduct elections, establish schools, establish local governments, and regulate business within their state. These are things that only the national government does: maintain an army, navy, declare war, coin money, and regulate commerce. Virginia's government structure. Each state has its own constitution. The Constitution of Virginia establishes a government with three branches: legislative, executive, and judicial.